I would be all for remaking games that had great ideas, great concepts, great stories, but the actual game was bad.
Video games, video games, video games, video games.
I saw this article on The Gamer, and I had no idea that this was even a discussion, so I must have been in a deep sleep hibernation. But apparently, there's rumors of a Resident Evil 1 remake for the second time. For those that don't know, the original Resident Evil 1 came out in 1996. I got it right back there for the PlayStation 1, and then they made a remake for it on the Gamecube, I believe 2002. Now there is a rumor that they're going to be making another remake of Resident Evil 1. So I want to read this article. This was written by Peter Hunt Diptek. Probably pronounced that wrong. What's the point of another Resident Evil 1 remake? Despite how well the remake holds up when compared to the current crop of modern AAA horror titles, rumor has it that Capcom is working on a second remake of the original Resident Evil. And also, I forgot to mention, I said, this came out on GameCube, the remake, but they've also remastered that up to the point of 1080p, and it's available on current consoles. So the remake has had a remaster too. While I understand wanting to capitalize on the original game's legacy in an era packed full of remakes, and packed full of Resident Evil remakes no less, I think a remake would do a disservice to the original game, to the games industry at large, and to Resident Evil fans' intelligence. I don't disagree with that completely. And I'm curious, when he says it would do a disservice to the original game, does he mean the original game? Or does he mean the remake? The Resident Evil remake feels a little old, it's true. The game uses static camera angles, which can feel a little jarring when compared to the free-moving third-person cameras standard in modern gaming. Is it unplayable? Not by a long shot. I still love playing either the original or the remake. The camera angles and all that stuff never bothers me because I've been playing them since they came out. But man, it would be kind of fun to play the Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil 1 in third-person mode. I'm a little split on this. Despite this, the fixed camera angle is one of the main complaints I hear from people who want a remake of the remake. It feels so bad to play. The camera is awful. It would benefit from a Resident Evil 2 style remake. I understand that people tend to write off Resident Evil because it doesn't feel like a modern game, but I believe that a modern remake of the game is a bit of an insult to the fans' intelligence. Why does he think it's an insult to the fans' intelligence? I wonder if he clarifies that. We're getting to the point now where it's like, oh, any game that was good, when are they going to remake it? I really think we need to get out of that train of thought. Why do all these games need to be remade? Yeah, they're fun experiences. I've had a lot of fun with remakes. Silent Hill 2, Dead Space remake was a lot of fun, and of course, Final Fantasy 7. So there's a lot of remakes that I've enjoyed, but I feel like now the fans are just like, what's next? And I don't know if I like that line of thinking. I think that could lead to a dangerous time where all we have is remakes, and they just keep remaking remakes, and we don't get any new stuff. Anyone can play the original remake. It might be a little different than what you're used to. It might push you out of your comfort zone. But at the end of the day, there is a modern remake of Resident Evil that you can buy and play on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch. And yeah, that's what I was talking about. So what he's talking about here, pushing them out of their comfort zone, he's talking gamers that haven't played the game before, because they must be refusing to play it. If it's something different than what they're used to, they've never played it before. So I guess I can kind of see for younger gamers that maybe got into Resident Evil through 7 and 8, or the 2, 3, 4 remakes, where they play those games and then they go to play, oh, I like Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 remakes, I want to play Resident Evil 1 remake. And it's like completely different from all of those. So I can understand that point of view for younger gamers or gamers that never played the original Resident Evil. The only thing stopping people from doing that is their willingness to engage with systems that they might not be 100% familiar with. And that could be a barrier. These people could be turning on the game and being like, what the hell is this? Why am I spinning in a circle? Why am I hitting down and I'm going up? The tank controls may be messing them up, so I can see where they might just be like, forget it, this isn't the same. The Resident Evil Remake is a different kind of game than what most people are used to. It's not an over-the-shoulder shooter. In fact, it's not really a shooter at all. It's more of a horror puzzle game than anything else, and a strange perspective makes those puzzles and scares more interesting. I think the camera angles do a lot for the environment and the mansion, especially in the original game. I don't agree with it's not really a shooter at all. I mean, it's not a third-person shooter, but it is a top-down shooter. There's a lot of action in the game. If Capcom releases a second remake of Resident Evil, it sets an unfortunate precedent for how older but perfectly playable games will be viewed by publishers. All of the Resident Evil remakes sell well, so it would likely incentivize other publishers to consider remaking their older but still good titles. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. It sets an unfortunate precedent. If we start remaking remakes, where does it end? What's the next remake we're going to remake? Do we remake Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3 again? I don't know if this is hypocritical, but I would play a remake again of Resident Evil if it was in the Resident Evil 2 style, because I think it would be cool to go through the Spencer Mansion in that perspective. But at the same time, I don't support remakes of remakes, so that's very hypocritical. So I don't know. I don't know what to think here. I'm very confused, because what's going to happen is, if they do this, and they remake Resident Evil again, you know it's going to sell crazy. And just like this guy said in the article, other publishers are going to look at that and say, all right, it's more remake time. You guess remakes are going to be the thing now? I mean, they've kind of been, but not near, I think, as much as we're going to see. We are getting more and more remakes over time. I don't know, once we remake a remake, I mean, has that ever been done before? At least with FF7 Rebirth, it was a bit different to FF7 Remake. There's enough changes to where you could argue that it's a different game and not a remake, but at the end of the day, every place you're going and most of the things you're doing in that game is a remake from the original game. But yes, I mean, there's a lot of differences to that. Silent Hill 2 Remake, on the other hand, there was no differences. It was exactly the same, just remade. And I didn't have a problem with that either. Dead Space, the same thing. So you could do it multiple ways. But do we get to a point now where, the remake is old, so now we got to remake the remake, and that's where we're at with Resident Evil. He mentioned how games, they still play well. He said older, but still good titles. If we're going to remake games, I know, listen, it's a business, and I understand what I'm about to say will never happen, because they want guaranteed hits, guaranteed sales. So if they're going to remake something, it's going to be their most popular games. I would be all for remaking games that had great ideas, great concepts, great stories, but the actual game was bad. The one I can think of off the top of my head is Homefront. I thought that storyline was really cool, but the game itself wasn't that good. Like, I think there's a lot of older games that probably have great ideas and concepts that would be cool to see remade because the original game sucked. Resident Evil Code Veronica doesn't suck. There's things I don't like about it. I'd rather have that remade than Resident Evil 1. When you're a business person and your only concern is your shareholders or the bottom line, and you have, let's say, we can remake Resident Evil 1, or we got this brand new IP pitch from Capcom, which one do we want to make? Well, in the first one, there's zero risk, and in the second one, there's a lot of risk. So if you're a business person, you're going to pick the Resident Evil 1 remake every single time. So I understand this from a business perspective. And like I said, I would play this. But it does start a dangerous precedent of remaking remakes. Where does it end? Are we killing creativity here? I'm reminded of a tweet I saw recently about one of the original God of War games that reads, 20-year-old combat system still feels fresh in 2025. Give me remake now. I can't understand this opinion. If it plays well and looks great, then what point is there to remake it? And I agree 100% with that. The fan that was playing God of War, if he's playing that and it feels fresh, why does he want a remake? completely agree with the writer here. If it plays well and looks great, then what point is there to remake it? As a fan, why would you need one? Like, if you're enjoying playing the original game, I understand from the business point of view, but yeah, I don't understand that opinion either. He says, I feel the same way about Resident Evil. It's not a modern game, but that doesn't matter. It's still extremely well made, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to experience the first game in the series despite its older control scheme. I'm pretty sure he's talking about the remake as if it's the first game. So like, he's written off the original. And that's alright, because most people prefer the remake. But to me, I think the remake, as fun as it was, as well made as it was, I think it lost a lot of the charm of the mansion from the original game, because man, a lot of them rooms look the same. A lot of brown in that game. There's different colors all over the place in the original Resident Evil, and every room feels unique, and it makes that mansion more of a character. I love the Resident Evil 1 remake, but to me, the mansion loses some of its aura because everything looks the same, pretty much. This is just my opinion, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Exactly. I would like to know that fan's reasoning why, man, this still feels fresh. I want a remake. I love Super Mario. Let me use Super Mario Galaxy as an example here, because it's probably a dead series. You know, the way Nintendo moves through Mario. We're not going to get a Galaxy 3, just like we wouldn't get a Sunshine 2. As a fan of Super Mario Galaxy, if I had a choice, do you want a remake of that? Or do you want a new one, a Galaxy 3? I'd choose Galaxy 3. So that's where I'm like, if that's where I was thinking, if I'm one of these God of War fans, wouldn't you want a new God of War game instead of the same one again? I don't know. That's just one example that I can think of off the top of my head. These people are too spoiled with modern graphics and 60 frames per second. A lot of them go to that first. And I'm always like, you could take the most beautiful looking games, but if it isn't fun, who cares? I would play the worser looking game if I had a choice out of two, if it was more fun than the better looking game. Remaking Resident Evil incentivizes players and publishers alike to conform to the industry standard and reject anything that challenges those modern systems in any way. And that's a good point, because what he's saying is the original Resident Evil is not in a modern style gameplay, so let's just remake it in a modern system. It results in games feeling less unique because publishers see that people react poorly to anything that isn't an over-the-shoulder third-person action game. Somebody put out a video of the Sony first-party games. They all look the same. I play a lot of these games, but they all look the same. Over-the-shoulder, third-person action game. That is like the least risky thing to do. And this person that is writing this, Peter Hunt Ziptech, which I probably pronounced his last name wrong, he's 100% right about this. The people react poorly if it's not an over-the-shoulder third-person action game, meaning that they start to become the only thing that gets made. I think you can throw in Souls-style perspective in combat as well. Those are becoming very frequent. If another remake is made, it will become the definitive way for most people to experience Resident Evil. When this sort of thing happens, the original game is often seen as obsolete and not worth bothering with, since a superior, more modern version exists. He's 100% correct, because he did it right there. He's already written off that one. He's talking about the remake, because this is the original, not the GameCube one. But I agree 100%. I mean, there's other options. Final Fantasy VII, no, not for me. I still play the original. But Silent Hill 2? If I'm going to play Silent Hill 2, I will play the remake, just because, to me, it's better. By taking something that stands out amongst the sea of third-person horror games, the sea of third-person Resident Evil games, and making it exactly like everything else, the original game loses a major part of its identity. And like I said, it already has. In that game, the mansion has much more identity than it does in the remake. So even in the remake that he's talking about, the original game has already lost part of its identity, in my opinion. If the Resident Evil remake is real, I'm sure it will be fine. Perfectly passable, at times great, but just another Resident Evil remake. I think they learned their mistake with the RE3 remake. They outsourced the RE3 remake to a different studio, and that's why that one is just not as good as 2 and 4. So I guarantee you, if they remake Resident Evil 1, it will be in-house in Capcom with their top team. I have no doubt if they do this, the game will be amazing. I have no doubt. It'll lose what sets the original game apart from the rest of the series and from the rest of the industry. It'll be forgettable and blend in with everything else, smashed into the middle of a Jill sandwich. A terrible fate for one of the most groundbreaking games of all time, don't you think? The original game's already forgotten, man. You watch anybody play Resident Evil 1, unless it's speedrunners, I don't see anybody playing the original. And like I said, I prefer the original because the mansion is more of a character. All the rooms don't look the same. Yeah, I think that was a really great article, and it's like I'm stuck in the middle here. I agree 1,000,000% with what the writer said, but at the same time, I would buy that game and play it day one. Where do I fit into this? I don't know. Am I part of the problem? Probably. I would buy a Resident Evil 1 remake, and at the same time, remaking remakes is a very dangerous precedent that could lead into a bleak creative future for video games.